There are certain years in our lives that don't feel like memories at all. They feel like places we can still walk into. And for many of us, that place is our student life. Whenever we think back to it, even just for a moment, something inside us softens. We smile without realizing it. We remember who we were before life became busy, before responsibilities stacked up, before we started measuring our days and deadlines and schedules. Those years are the opening act of our personal story, the part where the world feels big, the future feels wide, and every ordinary moment seems to glow with possibility. If you were to freeze frame any day back then, it would look simple, but emotionally, it carried the exact energy of a coming-of-age film. Warm sunlight, young faces, and a sense that anything could happen. Picture this. Every morning, the dormitory wakes before you do. There's the sound of your roommate rifling through notes, someone humming while brushing their teeth in the hallway, the distant sound of a kettle boiling, and the soft chatter of early risers. Light pours through the window in a way that feels almost theatrical. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just a gentle reminder that life is starting again, right where you are. You weren't thinking about nostalgia back then. You weren't thinking about the meaning of it all. You were simply living, rushing, laughing, planning, adjusting, dreaming, without knowing that these small things would one day become the scenes that define your youth. Those mornings blend into days full of motion. You rush to class, not because you are late for something serious, but because of roll call, a tiny detail that somehow feels like the most important mission of the day. Friends walk beside you, talking about assignments, future jobs, or sometimes about nothing at all. And yet, those simple conversations become the ones you remember the most later on. As the sun begins to lower, the campus shifts into a different rhythm. Cafes near the school fill up. You and your friends pick the same old spot, not because it's special, but because it feels like yours. It's where you talk about dreams that feel distant but exciting. It's where you imagine who you might become. You don't know it yet, but you are shaping your future with every conversation, every idea shared, every laugh that lightens your worries. And then night comes, not a quiet night, but the kind filled with open books, glowing screens, and the unspoken bond of studying together. There is something strangely comforting about struggling through the same chapters, the same formulas, the same deadlines. It's not glamorous, but it feels honest. It feels human. And somewhere in that shared effort, friendships become something deeper, something that grows without needing to be spoken out loud. When we look back, we rarely remember the stress or the fatigue. We remember the feeling of belonging, of growing, of being surrounded by people who were walking the same uncertain but hopeful path. And maybe that's why those years remain so powerful. They weren't perfect, but they were real. They were the years when we were allowed to be unsure, allowed to explore, and allowed to learn who we were becoming. They taught us how to care, how to work, how to dream, and how to stand on our own, even when we didn't realize we were learning it all. The beauty of student life isn't that everything was easy. It's that everything was meaningful in a way we only understand once it becomes a memory. And even now, thinking about those mornings, those afternoons, and those long nights, we can still feel the warmth of them, as if they're waiting for us just beyond the next corner. If the early student years feel warm and gentle, then the middle years are where everything seems to burst open, like a movie shifting from a calm introduction into that vibrant, energetic second act. Suddenly, life feels fuller, louder, richer. You start recognizing the rhythms of your days, the familiar paths you walk, the people whose presence shapes your routine. Everything gains momentum. This is the time when friendships stop being just convenient and start becoming meaningful. You're no longer just sharing a classroom. You're sharing experiences, small discoveries, and moments that somehow feel larger than life. There's an excitement in the air, as if every day carries the promise of something new, even if you're doing the same things as yesterday. Imagine walking across campus and knowing exactly where your friends are likely to be. Someone is always waiting under a big tree with headphones on. Someone else is probably still finishing their assignment at the last minute. Another friend is already waving at you from afar with that familiar smile. It feels like you're part of a world where everyone understands you without needing an explanation. Then there are the spontaneous moments, the ones that never make it into the official memories, but stay with you anyway. Deciding to grab lunch together, even when you're all rushed. Turning simple walks into deep conversations about life, dreams, and fears you only admit during this fragile, yet honest period of growing up. Making plans that feel larger than reality, but give you hope, direction, and a sense of belonging. Even the academic challenges, which may have felt overwhelming at first, become something almost exciting. You start realizing that you're capable of more than you expected. Some lessons click suddenly, others slowly, but each one teaches you more than just the subject. It teaches patience, discipline, and the quiet confidence that builds as you overcome small hurdles. And because you're not doing it alone, those challenges feel less like obstacles and more like steps forward. Afternoons during this time carry a special kind of energy. You and your friends sit at your favorite cafe, surrounded by the soft buzz of conversations and the warm aroma of coffee. You talk about the future with a mix of excitement and uncertainty, but somehow, in that circle of people, everything feels possible. The future isn't a threat. It's an adventure waiting for you. This is also when you begin to understand yourself a little better. You notice the things that motivate you, the things that hold you back, the things that make you feel alive. You experiment, not recklessly, but curiously. Trying new hobbies, joining clubs, taking small risks that help you grow. These small choices gradually shape your identity, giving you a clearer sense of who you are becoming. And perhaps the most beautiful part is the laughter. Real, effortless laughter that fills classrooms, corridors, and late-night study rooms. Laughter that makes stress easier to handle and mistakes easier to forgive. You laugh at the silly things, the unexpected things, the things that won't matter 10 years from now, but matter so deeply in that moment. Even the imperfections of those years add to the excitement. The days when things don't go as planned, the moments of confusion, the times when you disagree with friends and learn how to understand each other better. These experiences aren't traumatic. They're human. And through them, you discover the importance of empathy, patience, and appreciating different perspectives. When you look at this phase of your life through the lens of a movie analyst, it becomes clear. This is the part where the main characters, you and your friends, truly start to grow. The excitement isn't just about events. It's about becoming aware of how deeply life is shaping you. Every emotion feels fresh. Every milestone feels personal. Every connection feels meaningful. These years glow not because they're extraordinary, but because you're fully present in them. You don't yet know how precious they will become, and maybe that innocence is what makes them shine so brightly. Every good story reaches a turning point, not a crisis in the destructive sense, but a moment when the characters must confront change. And in the movie of our student years, that moment arrives quietly. There's no dramatic music, no sudden twist. Instead, it comes gradually, almost gently, as if life is giving us time to prepare. It begins with small signs. The conversations that used to be carefree start including words like internship, graduation, and future plans. The assignments grow a bit more serious. Deadlines begin to feel more meaningful. The campus, once a playground of endless possibilities, now feels like a space where time is moving in measurable steps. You notice that you're not at the beginning anymore. You're somewhere in the middle, slowly approaching an ending you never really thought about. There's excitement, of course. You're moving toward the next chapter of your life. But at the same time, there's a quiet tension, a gentle ache you can't quite put into words. The friendships you've built, the routines you've grown comfortable with, the places that feel like home, you begin to see them with different eyes. Not because anything is wrong, but because you understand that these moments won't last forever. This is the drama of growing up, not loud, not painful, but deeply human. You start noticing how precious ordinary moments have become. A friend calling your name from across the courtyard, the familiar creak of the dormitory staircase, the late-night snacks you share after long study sessions. Even the campus trees seem to look different, as if they've been quietly watching you grow all along. Yet, amidst the beauty, there's a natural sense of uncertainty. Questions begin to appear, not frightening ones, just honest ones. Will we all stay in touch? Where will everyone go after graduation? What if things change faster than I can handle? These thoughts don't bring fear. They bring reflection. They remind you that you're stepping into a new phase of life where choices matter more, responsibilities grow clearer, and your identity becomes something you actively shape rather than simply discover. There are also subtle moments of distance, not because people drift apart in a negative way, but because each person begins to walk at their own pace. You're still close, still connected, but you can feel life gently guiding each of you in different directions. And that's okay. Change is not the enemy of friendship. It is simply part of the journey. Growing up does not erase the bond. It broadens it. The people you grew up with do not fade away. They remain in your story in a different, deeper way. There is also a moment, quiet but profound, when you realize how much you've changed. You've become more thoughtful, more aware, more grounded. The person you were on your first day is still there, but now accompanied by new layers of understanding, confidence, and compassion. And then comes the day when the campus feels different. Not sad, not heavy, just meaningful. You walk slower, noticing details you never paid attention to. The sunlight falls in a way you want to remember. Every corner seems to hold a memory. Your friends laugh beside you, but beneath the laughter lies a shared understanding. Things are beginning to change. Yet, even in this emotional shift, the underlying tone remains warm. The drama here isn't about conflict. It's about awareness. It's about appreciating something deeply at the very moment it starts to slip into the past. It's the kind of emotional turning point that makes coming-of-age stories so memorable. The recognition that growing up isn't about losing anything, but about carrying everything forward with gratitude. This phase isn't a goodbye. It's a quiet acknowledgement that you're reaching the end of a chapter and that you're ready, even if you didn't expect to be. As the final months of student life approach, something remarkable begins to happen. Something quieter than excitement, softer than drama, but far more meaningful. It's the moment when all the experiences, friendships, challenges, and dreams of those years start weaving themselves into a lesson that will stay with you long after you leave campus. It doesn't arrive all at once. Instead, it appears in small realizations, like gentle waves touching the shore. You begin to understand that the true beauty of those years was never in the big events, but in the everyday moments that once felt ordinary. The walk to class, the shared meals, the way your friends waited for you even when you were late, the laughter that filled quiet hallways, and the way everyone simply existed together without trying to impress or prove anything. Happiness often hides inside the simplest routines. You don't realize it while you're living them, but later, when life becomes more structured and responsibilities grow heavier, you look back and understand that your younger self was learning one of the most important lessons. Joy doesn't need to be extraordinary to be meaningful. Student friendships are unique, not because they're perfect, but because they grow without conditions. You supported each other through exams, stress, confusion, and days when you weren't sure what you were doing. You celebrated small victories together, shared snacks when money was tight, edited each other's assignments, and comforted one another, even when you had no idea what to say. That connection isn't about how often you meet, but about the sincerity you offer. It's about being present, listening, caring, and understanding, even when life isn't easy. And later, when everyone is busy with their own paths, this lesson becomes even more precious. You entered as someone uncertain, curious, hopeful, and you're leaving with more clarity, quiet confidence, and a sense of who you want to become. You didn't grow in one dramatic moment. You grew in hundreds of small steps. Each challenge shaped you. Each success encouraged you. Each mistake taught you resilience, responsibility, and humility. When you were younger, change might have seemed frightening, a sign that you were losing something. But now, standing between who you were and who you're becoming, you realize that change is actually a bridge. It connects your past with your future. It doesn't erase memories. It enriches them. It allows you to carry the best parts of your younger self into the next phase of life. Instead of seeing the end of student life as a loss, you begin to see it as a transition, one that honors everything you experienced. The memories don't disappear just because the daily routines change. The friendships don't vanish just because you no longer see each other every morning. What mattered stays with you, quietly woven into the way you think, the way you act, the way you treat others. And in this moment, you finally realize what those years truly gave you. Even the bittersweet feeling of saying goodbye carries a lesson that the most beautiful chapters in life are the ones we learn from long after they end. You may no longer be a student, but the lessons of those years continue to shape your decisions, your relationships, and your outlook. The story of your youth doesn't close. It simply becomes a foundation you'll stand on for the rest of your life. Student years are the most meaningful moments of life. The simplest moments: shared laughter, sincere friendship, small steps of maturity. Although each person will walk on a separate path, the warmth of those memories will always remain, guiding us to kindness, gratitude, and resilience. We do not cling to the past to avoid maturity. We carry it with us so that we can mature with a more complete heart.